on the phone with somebody that you might never call on the phone. Because I think there's so many people between like our 10th best friend and our 100th acquaintance that we don't get to talk to on the phone or have those sort of spontaneous interactions with. But we'd love to because we want to stay in touch with them, and that's especially hard right now. But Daniel, what are you thinking about this space? You guys are doing podcasts, but are you thinking of anything else around interactive audio or things that are more live?
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, it brought up some fun memories. I remember Mark and we first collaborated on social music, which is a form of social audio back in 2011. We launched we kind of launched Spotify in the US that way, actually, where it was pretty cool. Like, if I was listening to music and Mark was on Facebook, you could kind of tap into and listen to exactly what I was listening to at that time. It obviously wasn't as smooth of an experience as you can imagine it today, but it was kind of the first inning of that. So it's definitely something we've been thinking about for quite some time, I think both Mark and I. But I mean, the way I look at it is, the internet is an audio, visual, and interactive medium. And so as such, even as it comes to audio, it was bound to become interactive. And I think Clubhouse and, all of those type of formats is a great way of creating an interactive format between people and a discovery format. I think at Spotify, we deliberately have kind of framed our set of focus as towards creators who aspire to be or already are professional. So we're not trying to be a social network of some sort, but instead what we are interested in and what we're going to focus on is obviously creating more interactivity features between creators and fans. We think that there's a ton of work to do there, and not just casual users, but even the segmentations like we spoke about earlier between, your true fans, your super fans, and allowing those new and novel ways to interact with you. So those are definitely things that we're thinking about, and I think Clubhouse has just shown to the world that audio can be interactive as well. And obviously I'm not surprised, but I think the fantastic thing is this has been something of a trend that's been going on now for quite some time. I believe, I don't have the data to back this up, but I believe that the AirPods may be one of Apple's all-time most sold devices next to the iPhone. And so if you think about that and just think about sort of ambient computing and the ability for people to consume more and more content now via their ears, because most of us are having these sort of white earbuds for many, many hours per day. That's just an enormous opportunity, both for social experiences, but also for consuming more content like podcasting, like music, and of course some of that will also be interactive.
Yeah, it feels a bit like when phone screens got bigger and the network speeds got faster, suddenly video became a viable option. People started consuming a ton more of it, and now it seems like we're experiencing that with audio. Maybe we don't need the screen size, and the bandwidth actually isn't that tough, but it's really that sense of not having to fiddle with a tangled set of chords in your pocket just to be able to listen to something for 30 seconds while you're in line. Instead, I'm excited to see content get cut down shorter and shorter, so I could ask for a set of comedy clips about a current events topic, or a quick news brief about something, or just like some natural poetry when I'm taking a nice walk in the woods. I think that there's such an opportunity for that short form part, especially if you do build in that AI discovery where you don't have to pick every time, but instead it can sort of queue that stuff up for you. And Daniel, I think I'm also really excited around curatorship, because I think when you get enough content, naturally you need that next layer of curators. And playlisters are incredible on Spotify, but it seems like there's sort of limited ability to interact with those playlisters, or for those playlisters to really understand who's listening to them and be able to build that second set of creators that are indirectly creating by helping other people find content to experience. Are you trying to build more for those curators as well as the creators?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to add more and more tools that allow you to be a better curator, if not on a social basis, at least for yourself. But we did also also, during the pandemic, launch sort of an ability for you to share what you're currently listening on with your friends. And the way we did that was actually by just sharing a link. You can do that on any social network or on Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, or any of that to your friends, and they can tune in and listen to exactly what you're listening to. So it's kind of a live playlist where you can interact around that, and your friends can suggest if they want to listen to other songs as well. So there's definitely inroads in terms of that, but the primary focus for us on the roadmap is just enabling you to be a much better curator, even for yourself, just by, for instance, suggesting content that's relevant to the things you've already put in the playlist, enabling you to, again, a lot of people, what we find in Spotify has had a lot of the same songs in the playlist. They're just being able to augment that playlist by adding more great content that's kind of similar is something that our users really want us to be able to do. So there'll be a lot more of that stuff coming where it's both actual humans, but then augment that with machine learning as well to just make the experience much better.
Wait, are we going to see like a Spotify first-party kind of turntable FM experience where I can actively DJ for a bunch of my friends?
Yeah, it doesn't look anything like turntable, but I love the icons and the visual expression of turntable. But this is more like the functionality in the sense that you can actually already today create kind of a live room where you're able to tune into what your friends are listening to at the moment.
That's amazing. So I want to go through some of the incredible top tips that you guys gave us today and some of the major insights. So I love that, Mark, you started off with talking about your response that your favorite meme was that smoking meats one, and your Sweet Baby Ray's super cut of your just deep affection for that barbecue sauce. It's great to see that like you're playing along with it and you're laughing along with it, because I think those memes do bring a lot of people joy. When we got into talking about the creator economy, talk about that creators really need tools, that there are new business models around journalism and entertainment, and that people using their personality as their brand and turning their passion into their profession to make a real living unlocks just a whole new type of occupation and something that might give people a lot deeper fulfillment. But in order to do that, you have to cobble together all these different tools. Creators have to become founders as well and bring together a wide variety of teammates as well as tools. And we're seeing this explosion of startups to help them release some of that friction. Because a lot of times, content has been one size fits all, and that's meaning that you have to sort of boil it down to this lowest common denominator, and it's really one size fits none. And that now people are starting to move off of these platforms or deepen their monetization through new features on the top social platforms, so they can develop that deep relationship with their super fans and cater to the niches that truly love them. Toby said that trend of people moving off platform might be a little bit overblown, but that the internet is the biggest city in the world, and it's not, you can find those first 1,000 fans for nearly any niche. And Mark, you talked about wanting to offer people a lot of different ways to monetize. That it could be selling the actual content or creations, but there's also things like merchandise or doing curation or live streams with tips, and that the ad revenue share is not going to work for everyone, and we need to move to this more 360 view, and that you guys are working with other companies to help you with that instead of having to try to do it all yourself. And that it's a leaky bucket to think that we have to constantly fill up employment, and instead, if people are moving more to these sort of passion professions, even if they don't end up having a traditional job or being able to make a living as a creator, I think long term that'll be okay, because we're going to have more subsidies as automation helps change that economy. And that the internet is this sort of ultimate promise of the future of finding your audience, as Daniel said, and helping to monetize everyone from casual users to super fans to be able to make that all come true. And Mark, you guys are doing incredible progress here. You now have 1 million active shops and 250 million people using them, which really shows that people care about those small businesses on Facebook. And that's where we brought in that talk about Apple. And I asked you guys about how you feel about these changes that Apple's making, and that it could be really detrimental to some of these small businesses, as you said, if they're not able to target their fans in the same way. It's detrimental to creators if they can't necessarily monetize or to take those sort of micropayments or do subscriptions. And some of the things you guys hoped for was the idea of opening up the APIs so that all services, regardless of who makes them, can use all of Apple's services. Or Eric Majikowski, the Pebble founder, talked about side loading and how if Apple doesn't want to be the distributor of these experiences, it doesn't have to. Let people side load them themselves, and that let people choose their own default apps rather than demanding that they have one specific one. I would love to see a phone dialer replaced with a third party app that can remind me to call people that I love that I haven't talked to in a while. And we can't do that if we can only use the native dialer. You guys talked about reducing taxes so that creators of all types can earn a living, because you mentioned that when Facebook tried to let creators monetize online events during the pandemic, you guys didn't take a cut, but Apple was still taking that 30% cut, or that was Spotify. Apple's 30% cut is actually more than Spotify even makes on the entire service. And I think that poses a real problem, I think, for the long-term opportunity for experimentation on the internet, if people are so locked and constrained by what they can do on the predominant platforms. And then we talked a little bit about audio apps and Mark's theory that at the intersection of every medium and audience size, there's something interesting to build, whether it's one-on-one or small groups or broadcast. And we've seen that from blogging and Twitter, long form and short form and text, or gaming going from micro games and sort of instant games like on Facebook to bigger console games, or the experience from photos that are designed for a quick feed to something that's more of a destination. And you think that there's going to be similar things like that for audio, that will have longer form stuff like Spotify or podcasts or even Clubhouse, but there's room for those smaller, shorter audio formats. And as Daniel was talking about, because everybody is starting to have Bluetooth earbuds in their ears, they're not having to untangle these wires to be able to listen to something. We have a lot more opportunity for consumption. And I think that when you put all that together, there's a real opportunity for people to not just follow in the footsteps of the old economy, but find their own path to what fulfills them and makes them excited about living and getting up every morning. And so with that, I wanted to ask each of you guys just give a quick final, maybe word of inspiration or advice to entrepreneurs and creators out there. Daniel, maybe you could start us off.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a summary, Josh. So thank you for doing that. No, I mean, look, all I would like to say is it feels like pretty much everything on the internet might have already happened, but just know that this is the beginning. So keep being curious, keep trying out new services. For many of us, a few months ago, Clubhouse didn't exist. It's funny, I just saw, Josh, that you had over 3 million followers here as one creator. And so play around with the services. Try out new things on them, try to interact, try to work on all services. Again, build your fan base. Don't be afraid of collaborating as well with others. I think you started off by saying we're in kind of remix culture. So stay curious and know that we're at the beginning of this, definitely not the end, much more to come.
Love it. Toby, what do you think?
Sentiment, I think the very beginning of this new city that everyone just immigrated to, and we do know what things look like. I think honestly the only strategy has to be adaptability. Changes going to be constant, and the surfaces changes, the terms change, the game changes. The most adaptable will do well, and I think that's the right strategy for everyone to take. There's going to be incredible amount of opportunity just because of the positive summness of the platforms and all the work and people building business models that around helping others and then taking revenues from those and reinvesting them into the platforms to make it even better and widen things further. That's what's going on. I think that's one of the best stories in the world, and I think that's important and it's good.
I love your quote about that you should look at failure as the successful discovery of things that did not work, and that you shouldn't be afraid of experimentation because you're always going to learn even if things don't go right. And Mark, why don't you give us another final thought? And before that, I just want to let everyone know, if you weren't able to catch all of this talk, I know there was some trouble getting in the room, you'll be able to get the recording at Constantine.club. I'll be putting out that recording as soon as we can possibly do it, because I want to make sure everybody gets access to this, and it shouldn't be exclusive to iOS users, that's for sure. But Mark, why don't you give us some final thoughts on the creator economy, or what advice or inspiration you might have for creators?
Sure, and thanks for doing this, Josh. This has been fun. And I have to say, I really like Toby's analogy of the internet as the city. And it feels like, for the last 10 or 15 years, a lot of the community and social aspects of the city have filled out. But I do think the kind of creative and economic opportunity for individuals is really just about to take off. It's already big by some numbers, but I just think if you're thinking about whether this is something that you want to do with your career, I just think the tools and the monetization and the ability to reach people and get more precise in finding the people who are going to be interested in what you're doing are just getting so much better year over year right now. That what we're seeing across all of these different modes, whether it's journalism and people moving over to tools like Substack, or hopefully we can enable some of that too with the project that we announced this week. To the other mediums that we're talking about here, whether it's audio or video or just other creative pursuits, gaming. I just think that we're right at the beginning of this, and there's just so much opportunity for individuals to do things that unlock their own creativity, serve important niches in the world, and make a living doing some fun and exciting stuff. And I think it's really just going to get a lot more exciting from here.
That's amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Again, if you guys didn't catch all the talk or would love to check it out later, please go to Constantine.club and you'll be able to get the recording soon. Next week, we have a super exciting show. We're going to have the CEO of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg, as well as the COO of Salesforce, Brett Taylor, one of your former employees, Mark, talking about going back to the office and what it takes to actually return and whether we're going to see remote work continue. I know you loved working with Brett back in the day.
Yeah, that'll be great. Brett is amazing. Looking forward to tuning in for that one.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you guys are interested, we also presented this incredible NFT portrait of the guys up on stage from Finch. Would love to have you guys check that out. You can find it on Foundation. It's up for sale. We're giving 20% to charity through Give Directly. But again, I think the creator economy is something that if everyone is experiments, finds the medium that fits their soul, the thing that makes them sing and makes it feel like it's not really work, that there's a real opportunity for us all to find a way to find self-expression, if not also monetization and maybe even a profession. So I want to thank you guys all for joining us, and I'm going to talk with Finch for a few more minutes about the artwork that he made, but I know you guys are busy people, so if you got to go, I totally understand.
All right, thanks, Josh. This was awesome. Thanks for doing it.
Absolutely. Mark, Toby, incredible to have you guys here. So yes, Finch, I want to talk to you briefly about you're a Shopify seller. You said selecting $1 million on Shopify in terms of art in the past. We'd love to hear you just talk a little bit more about why you wanted to make this and what it means to you.
Yeah, Shopify is a really crazy platform. I didn't initially use it. I guess I went any other platform I started off in, but I wanted to start to customize my page. For me, I really focus on limited edition paintings, and so I'll paint because I use stencils. Anyone who's been watching on the feed can see.
So that was it for Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, obviously, and we had.
Wait, for real, can
Toby.
I interrupt you really quickly?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but I just want everyone to not miss these. Follow Farouk right now for all the overflow room. This was incredible. Thank you for doing this. That's all I wanted to say. Please continue.
I love that. Yes. Do follow me and tap the bell on to not miss this room. So this was absolutely crazy. I got a text from John Lee. I was in a meeting.